Um, so let's start again. That's why you're here, Sam Palpepper. It's great news.
Fantastic that he's back. Obviously spent, I think at the end, about 4 weeks away from the club. You know, did a lot of work through that period. The people close to him now believe that it's the right time for him to come back into the group, so he's back out training today.
Was he always coming back?
He was always coming back, yeah. It was a matter of the time that he needed to spend doing what he has been over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm really pleased that he's got to the point now where we're able to integrate him back into the group. He'll spend a couple of weeks training and we'll go from there.
Can you disclose, I guess, some of the stuff he's worked through over the past 4 weeks?
Oh, look, I'm sure when the time's right, he'll be willing to talk through exactly what he's gone through. But as we said at the time, Sam had to contemplate what his next steps were. He's worked hard with the people around him, with some medical practitioners through that period. So we're now back to a point, as I say, where he's ready to start training again. I can't see him playing at any level this week, but it's a great thing that he's integrating himself back into training.
Was there some club directive there, CD? Things that you needed from Sam, or was it purely Sam needing a break from football? Or
No. We spoke about what we thought the next steps were. Back that day that he missed training that morning, and so from there he's done exactly what we would have asked at that time. So as I say, great to have him back.
And he's obviously won back the respect of the coaches and players as well.
Look, that's a step process, and I'd say that that really starts today. He hasn't been in direct contact with our people every day, our coaches or players. I'm sure that individuals have had those discussions, but with him from here, his actions will talk more about whether he earns respect back or whether he even needs to. I'm just pleased that he's back training and has the ability now to do what we pay him to do, and that's to be a footballer.
And you say unlikely to play this week. Do you think maybe the week after, or just not sure yet?
Just not sure yet. I mean, obviously we haven't had him under our direct tutelage over the last 3 or 4 weeks, so I think there's no doubt that he's going to have to spend some time getting back up to the pace of training, and when he plays again, that'll be another step forward. But what I can say is it won't be that this week.
What are some of the themes that you need to see from him now that he's returned to the club?
I don't need to see anything other than he continues to train and do all the things that the coaches want. So him playing again won't be a directive from me as much as it will be our strength and conditioning group, who need to make a decision on whether they think he's ready to get back out and play at SANFL level. He's not going to come back straight into the AFL team, so there'll be a step process of him getting used to the rigours of training, as I say, and then getting back to a position where we think he can compete at SANFL level.
Appreciate that you want to keep parts of it private between you guys and Sam, which is all good, but to miss a training session and then sort of be out of the club for 4 weeks, would it be fair to assume that there are other things other than missing a training session that then leads to 4 weeks away from the club?
I don't think it's fair to assume anything. Each individual player has their individual circumstances. We approached the period of time that Sam took away from the game as an opportunity for him to contemplate what he wants into the future, whether that be from a professionalism perspective in the way that he conducts himself away from the club, or what he wants out of his football as well. I mean, those two things are directly intertwined, but it's very hard for players of any sport to have a good solid career on the field if they aren't taking care of themselves off it, and taking care of themselves off it can mean a myriad of different things depending on the individual. So in answer to your question, no, I don't think it's fair to assume, but we're pleased that Sam's taken the time away to reassess, to work on the things that he wanted to, and he's now back.
So there were some sort of doubts about whether it was how he was conducted, or was focused on his footy career or his off-field stuff that was giving the club doubts, or giving him doubts, or?
I think you went over that at the time. It's really clear that Sam missed that session that he did, and so of course there were challenges about what we thought were his levels of professionalism. If you miss a training session, I come down on the blokes, whether they have got reasons for it or not. I want to know why that's the case. In Sam's situation, it was the catalyst for him to reconsider what he wants for his future. And for me, that can be a positive experience for him from here on in, because he's worked really hard over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I hope that this stands him in good stead into the future to be a Port Adelaide player for as long as he possibly can be.
Is there anything in particular the club's going to do to help Sam now that he's back? He's lived with Travis in the past. Is that on the cards again? Or?
No, he's not going to live with Trav. I mean, and nor do I think I need to divulge where each individual player lives to you guys, because that there needs to be some things that remain private. But look, we'll put some things around Sam now in order for him to transition back into being, as I say, a full-time professional athlete. What those things are, we'll talk through with Sam from here on in. But there's no doubt that we want to give him the best opportunity to be good. So we have to contemplate those types of things in order for us to get the most out of him as a player, and also for himself to get the best out of himself as a person.
I think you sort of touched on it too, but how's he been received by the rest of the club?
I wasn't in there before when he got received. It was well received by me. That's what I can tell you, Andrew. Look, I think that the guys they care about Sam. They've been supportive of him through the period. He's now back. I'm sure that they'll remain supportive.
Plenty of blokes out there that perhaps don't look like they're in your first team. Is there some extras out there today? Or am I my eyes deceiving?
So with absolute respect, they are our SNFL contracted players. So those are the guys who represented us at SNFL level on Thursday night.
And just on the game itself, obviously not the result, but maybe not a bad thing. It's happened early in the year, so you just got to get back on the horse big game this week.
Yeah, that's fair to say. It's certainly not the result that we wanted, and ultimately it was a game that went exactly the way that we thought it would if we didn't get some of the things right. Clearly West Coast have some real dominance at centre bounce that we weren't able to curtail. We knew going into the game that was going to be the case, and we put some strategies in place that either didn't work or weren't executed well. And then, back down the ground, West Coast's ability, once the ball goes into their back half, to be able to control the ball and move it, again, was something that last year we did far better than what we did this year. So some real learnings about our execution, not so much about the way that they beat us, because I think in reality we knew that if we didn't perform to our expectations, that was probably the way that the game was going to go. But a confronting situation to face when you feel a little bit powerless in the box when centre bounce is going the way that it did. But I don't think there's any doubt that will be better for the experience, and a loss at this time of the year, although it's disappointing to lose at any point, is not going to be a bad thing as long as we learn from it.
Looking forward to Friday night, did you see what Sydney did in terms of quelling Dustin Martin's influence on the game, and could there be something similar that the team employs on Friday?
Look, the coaches will work through the way that we approach the game on the weekend. Clearly, Dustin is the best player in the competition, and so there will be some work put into him. But ultimately, the way that we play our game is as a team type of defensive game. When we're defending, we know we're going to have to be at the top of our game in order to beat Richmond on Friday night.
Ken's always kind of said it's all about the system, but when you have a player who you said is the number one player in the competition, you have to maybe go away from what's tried and true, and maybe go specific players to go to him.
Look, I don't think that firstly that will be the case. I think that we'll back our group to do the job, but of course the coaches need to have contingencies to be able to curtail any player's influence. Now, whether those things work, ultimately the proof is in the pudding, and sometimes there are decisions made from a coach's perspective that don't see an outcome, and therefore some commentators or people in general may not think that there's been a change made. Look, as I say, we're well aware of Martin's potential, but he's also got a pretty good team around him as well that we need to be really mindful of.
And no fresh injuries all week?
Yeah, no injuries from the weekend. Trying to think of
Just
this
Tommy,
SANFL
obviously.
game.
Just Tommy concussion.
Yeah, so Rockcliffe concussion and he'll miss this week. Hopefully back for next week. He's taken some steps forward over the last couple of days, which was good.
Do you foresee many changes to the AFL side after a loss like that, or do you need to keep it?
Look, I think there's potential for a change. Excuse me, I'll start it again. I think there's potential for a change. You know, the way that the coaches want to actually go, as I say, will be determined as we work through the week. But you know, I know that they've been working hard on the review, and I'm certain that we'll come up with some things in order to challenge Richmond in a different way, potentially, than we look to approach the West Coast game.
I think the 4 calls up forward work.
I don't think we had enough supply up there, firstly, to make a proper call. But you know, what I will say across the board is, you know, people's infatuation in regard to how tall people are is something that, you know, generally grates on me anyway. So, you know, there are so many factors in a game outside of, you know, whether a bloke's 194 centimetres or 198 that influence the way that the game is played. So, for me, you know, we can contemplate what their heights are, but I think it's more important that we all consider what their attributes are and what they actually bring to the game. I don't think we saw it enough on Saturday night to be able to make a proper assertion as to whether their attributes gelled together or not. But you know, I know that Ken is committed to continuing to look at the way that group evolves.